They had a hit radio show, they had a hit TV show, and they released many albums. To find out what I'm talking about, stay tuned.
Hey, I'm Jack Hughes from Wang Chung.
Hey everybody, this is Ivan from Men Without Hats.
Hello everybody, this is Francis Dunnery from It Bites.
Hi everyone, this is Andy from Modern Romance.
Hi everyone, this is Charlene.
Hi, this is Dennis Seaton from Music E.
Hi, I'm Nick Haywood.
Hi, this is Kevin from Fiction Factory.
And you're listening to the 80s Rewind Show podcast.
If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe so that you never miss an episode.
And now, welcome your host,
Rob, the face for Radio Burgess.
Enjoy the show.
Hello, it's the 80s Rewind Show podcast with me, Rob, the face for Radio Burgess. I hope you're well and welcome along to the show. Before I start, I've got to say a massive thank you to everyone that's liked and subscribed to the show so far. If you haven't, just hit the subscribe button just down there below. Thank you to everyone that's reached out to say they're enjoying all the reaction videos, all the interviews and all the guests. It means a lot when you reach out to me. If you want to say hello, email address is in the same place. Just reach out and say hello as well. Or if you've got any suggestions for videos, feel free to hit me up. I'd love to chat to you. On to today's guest. I've got the fantastic Maurice Lee, or Mo Grumbleweed as he's known to the rest of the world. He's the one that looked like Barry Gibb from the Bee Gees by his own admission. The Grumbleweeds are a comedy band that had a fantastic TV show, a long-running radio show, and released many records. In the description, I'm going to put a link to one of their tracks called Never Before from one of their early albums. It's amazing. You need to hear it. There'll be a link in the description for that. Check it out. It's brilliant. Also, he talks about forming the band, what he's up to now, and the fact that he's a fantastic painter. He sent me some artwork, which will be on the website along with this interview. He's also agreed to let me play a track from his last solo album, so stick around for that right at the end. It was a great interview. He made me laugh so much I had to cut a lot of my laughing out. Maurice is a great guy. Check out the interview and I'll see you on the next one. Ta-da.
The 80s Rewind Show podcast, where the past meets the present.
If we can go back a wee touch, was you sort of, did you grow up in a musical household? Were your parents into music?
Not really. But they weren't musicians. So my memory of music when I was a kid was listening to Jack Jackson on Radio Luxembourg at midnight before I went to school the following morning. I did my homework on the way to school, writing in an exercise book. Some of that I didn't understand anyway. So it was just all about the music industry, but nobody in the family apart from one of my brothers could play the piano, but that's about it. And I got a guitar when I was 9.
So what was the sort of album for you that was the turning point that made you sort of really want to become a musician?
Well, I got the guitar and Elvis Presley and Eddie Cochran and Cliff Richard and, Marty Wilde, all the 60s stars were all, and the Everly Brothers. I just loved Bobby V, all these sort of ancient names now. All I was doing is trying to learn Move It by Cliff Richard. That was the first riff, I just wanted to play the guitar, and I left school at 15, and I was doing the clubs around Leeds and Bradford, etc. And then around about 1967, 65, we went to Hamburg as the Grumbleweeds. We formed the Grumbleweeds in 1962. So we were on the Reeperbahn doing an hour on and an hour off from 7 at night till 7 in the morning for a month. I came back with threatenings and a rash. It was a fantastic, educated sort of time in my life. And it made me see just what the industry was all about. And then we went on into the pubs and clubs and working men's clubs in 65, 66, 60, 67, we were on Opportunity Knocks. That was a talent show like the X Factor, except there was like a clap-ometer. And when the audience clapped, you could see some fella shoving it with a broom handle, you know what I mean? And it went across. And people sent the votes in by a postcard, and they added them up at the weekend. I can remember who we were on with. Minor Hall and Bill Dixon singing at each other. There was a fella playing a banjo with green teeth. There was a woman doing farmyard impressions, like, get off that tractor! That kind of stuff. And Yvonne Mars was last week's winner, and there was an army display team chucking each other about. And that's the kind of thing that went on in 1967. But it opened a few doors and closed a few doors. And we set off on the road to Cabaret. And Cabaret, this is in the day before motorways were even open. There was no M62 even before. We used to go over the Pennines. So you'd leave home at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and get back at 4 o'clock the following morning. And you'd go on at one club at, say, Wigan Casino at 9 o'clock. And then you go to Bolton Casino for 11 o'clock. And then back to Wigan for 1 o'clock. And you'd throw your Vox amplifiers in and all in the back of a Thames van. And you do that. And it was 14 shows in the week back over the Pennines. And we did that for years, absolute forever. Bolton, Wigan, Blackburn, Newcastle, the Dolce Vita, the Cavendish, all these venues, down to Birmingham, to the Night Out, the Dolce Vita, the Cavendish, the Rum Rummer, the Cedar Club, Barbarella's, all these venues, and Nottingham, the Heart of the Midlands, and the Talk of the Midlands, and over Manchester to the Talk of the North, and Bernard Manning's Embassy Club. I mean, it just went on and on and on and on. We just yumped all over England doing clubs every night of the week for years. Right through the 70s, right up until the 80s, really. And then in late 70s, we got a radio series on Radio 2. And that we did a sort of a pilot show. We used to work. Have you heard of a club called Batley Variety Club?
Funny enough, I've heard of it because other artists have spoke about it. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it was like a massive venue in a mill town just outside Leeds, where Roy Orbison played and Shirley Bassey, And with us being a Leeds act, we was a hell of a lot, it was renowned. It was packed all the time, and there was a radio producer lived in Batley called Mike Craig. And he came in and saw the act, and we did a pilot for a radio series. And it went through, and we did 17 years on Radio 2, and it won an award in about 1976 or 7 or something like that, or 78, for Radio Show of the Year. It was on at the same time. It was Saturday lunchtime, repeated Sunday lunchtime. It was on at the same time as the Hoodlines, Roy Hood had a series on radio. So he's a big Goonies. Can you remember the Goons?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, Peter Sellers, and Harry Seacombe. But it was written in that kind of, it was that kind of style of absolute insanity. We had characters in it like Wilf Gas Mask Grimshaw, and he wore a gas mask for the whole of the series. And so why do you wear a gas mask? It's just stop me picking my nose. Well, does it work? No, I can get my hand up here. It was, and he had a really, like a Goonie sort of blue bottle voice. Yeah. There was Uncle Nasty, which I played, and Uncle Rubby, which Graham played. And he sort of he'd have like a worm in his pocket or a slug. Hello, listeners. And Uncle Nasty would say, "You're getting right up my nose, you are, pal. Do you like hospital food? Do you like riding in ambulances? Do you want to wake up with a crowd around you in a vest full of broken ribs looking for your teeth?" No. It was that kind of... and Robin was amazing. But, the character he played mostly was Jimmy Savile.
Yes,
and
right.
Obviously, I was about that thing down, and it was all that going on all the way through it. Now then, here we are with Will Scott, not Grimshaw, and he'd go on. And Albert used to play this character where he had no teeth, and anybody seen his teeth was his catchphrase. And it ran and ran and ran, and we recorded it at the City Varieties in Leeds to a live crowd, and it was edited down and went out every Saturday lunchtime. So Johnny Hamp at Granada picked up on that, and he came across, and then by 83 we had a TV series that did 43 weeks on network telly. Saturday night TV was We Are the Grumbleweeds, with all the characters in it and all the impressions and guest acts like Faith Brown and Bernard Manning and Frank Carson and, Rindle Asardi. We had all sorts of various guests on the show, and it was sketches, music, and guests. It ran for 43 weeks, and they dropped us when we got below 8 million.
That's
so,
crazy.
mind you, there was only 4 stations.
That's true, yeah. Did it start out as a serious band, the Grumbleweeds, or was it always going to be sort of comedy, music?
Yeah, well, we tried to be serious, but we were crap, you know. The bottom line is, we were a covers band, but, you know, we could sing and we could play, but we were bored, you know, after a verse and a chorus. We wanted to mess about, and we'd just go off on one. And we did a talent competition in Leeds in 1963 for the Yorkshire Post. And it was a sort of there were 80 bands within it. And we came third. We only knew 3 songs. Johnny Be Good by Chuck Berry, Pipeline by the Ventures, and an original at Carlpen called Grumbleweeds. And before we went on, we prayed to a little flower in a plant pot. And we had everybody's attention at the front of the stage, where all the other bands were just knocking out, you know, it was Rory Storm and the Rockets, and it was that kind of, you know, the Gilead joined third place with us. And we came third. Ronnie Hilton was quite a famous singer in the day, and he was a judge. And we were just hoping and praying and didn't say, "Can you do another song?" Because we didn't know one. But nevertheless, we came third, and all the pubs around Leeds used us, and the youth clubs, and, you know, I mean, I remember working the Yorkshire Hazard in Leeds, which was the roughest pub in Leeds. It had a buzzer behind the bar that went straight to Millgarth Police Station. That, you know, and they were there on a regular basis to just kick the door in and walk in with 3 or 4, you know, German Shepherds on a lead and quieting everything down, and everybody getting a black man around their put up. You know, it was insane. But, you know, you see that, and then before you know where you are, you're on, you know, the top 10 club in Hamburg, you know, working through sailors and drunks, and at 4 o'clock in the morning, somebody's knocking 7 bells out of each other, and you're singing, you know, it was crazy. And then the motorway, I'll never forget this. On the way home, the van from Hamburg to Dover broke down. So we left the van on the Autobahn in 1965 with all the Vox amplifiers and my Guild Starfire and the Rickenbacker guitars and all that. So it's all folded up. And we just said sort of goodbye to it. Went back to writing and just got sort of any kind of a job, borrowed some equipment, and started working the working men's clubs with hired equipment. And Albert and Carl went back to the Yorkshire switchgear where they worked, and it was a big factory. And one of the lorry drivers there said, "You know, when your van broke down in Hamburg, what did you do about it?" And we said, "Oh, we just left it." He said, "Well, we're going over to Hamburg with a you know, massive cloudload. Do you want us to have a look at it?" So they brought the van. They went over, and the van was still there, intact. 7 weeks later, with the Voxhounds, the Rickenbackers, the lot, they brought it back home for us on the back of a lorry. But nobody, I mean, it wouldn't have lasted 5 minutes, would it, in this day and age?
No, not even overnight.
The wheels would have been off, the stuff would have been on eBay within half an hour, wouldn't it?
That's true. I mean, you say that you try to be serious and you're crap. I've got to disagree a little bit, because what I always do when I've got an artist on, I like to go back and listen to their back catalogue as much as possible to get a sense of where the band started and came to. And I discovered your album In a Technicolor Dream, which was...
Oh, wow.
Well, that album, I could only find 2 singles, I've got to be honest, the title track and Never Before. I got to be honest, they're brilliant songs. They were brilliant.
Thank you.
No,
Thank you very much.
Really good. I'm gutted I can't find any more of the album anywhere, because I know you did My Sweet Lord on it as well. You covered that, didn't you, as well?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, absolutely.
And
bloody hell, yeah.
Yeah, but Never Before is... Did you write that one? Is that one of yours?
I did, yeah.
Yeah. Can we talk about that? Like where that came from, how it came about? Was it just an idea, or?
Kind of, you know, we were just looking for our own sound, and we were influenced by everything that was kicking around at the time. And it doesn't resemble Blood, Sweat and Tears or Chicago Transit Authority or any of those kind of bands, but it was just that feel of wanting to be doing a kind of a beatly feel of the chord shapes and things, but with a orchestra or a band backing, and that's how it ended up. And yeah, I was quite pleased with the song, and it got, decent recognition, but it never, we've had a lot of singles out over the years, come on down to Bread Shop and all that going on. Oh, he was a great baker with our dad. And, can I give you a nudge? One of them was called, shall I ring you in the morning or shall I give you a nudge? And we just tried and tried and tried. But the music industry, I mean, the nearest I got to singing something that we thought might have had a chance was Woman's Intuition,
right?
Which was a thing. And we used to put it show. But, the Grumbleweeds, it's got a name that, it can make or break. And I think the actual name Grumbleweeds, you'll expect a serious song from it. And the funny thing is, at the Blues Bar every Wednesday, when I first did it, my first gig, it said Maurice Grumbleweeds outside, in coloured chalk, by the way. So, but as soon as I did my second show, it was used to more, because it seemed a little bit cooler.
Yeah.
And I opened up to a crowd of originally the musicians, because it's a music venue where there's a different guitarist, different band on every night of the week. And on a Sunday, they have 3 bands on. And it's only a small room. It holds about 60 people. And everybody, loves music. And I walked in on my first gig. I had tracks, and I was way off my, I could see the crowd were just looking at me as if to say, what's this guy doing? And in the interval, I went outside where they were having a smoke. I said, this ain't working. I said, forget the tracks, man. It's a live bar. So I went on with the second one, and I just played my guitar and blew my harmonica, and it improved things. But it looked like I was out on my depth, and I said to the owner, Simon, I said, listen, man, this isn't my venue. And he said, look, do another week, and if you don't like it, we'll call it a draw. And I worked on my acting that week, and for the second week, I went on. The third week, because I went to see a blues guitarist the week before, and he was amazing. I forget his name, Ian something. And I was standing in for a guy called Paul Middleton, who'd been working at the Blues Bar for 25 years. He was like a hero. But when I was watching the blues guy, Paul Middleton turned up, and he got a standing ovation for turning up. And I'm thinking, what? And I looked at the time and I said, this is your opportunity now to tell me to do one. He said, look, do next week. Don't worry about it. And I did next week, and it worked, and I've worked on it. And every week I'll do a different song. And it ranges from Hoochie Coochie Man, to a bit of Fleetwood Mac, to Elvis, to anything you can think of music, to Bobby Lee, to Bob Dylan, and it's a wild night. And I was there till they were dancing last night till midnight, and it went crazy. Absolutely. I've got a kickbox, a harmonica, and a guitar, and that's what I do. People who will think, who the hell is Maurice Grumbleweeds or Mo Grumbleweeds? They probably know they've forgotten it. But I crack gags in the middle, I'm not exactly PC. I tell you, my auntie was the first transgender I had to, and she was like a father to me. I just get away with murder. You won't be using that, by the way.
Would you ever do like an acoustic version of Never Before? Would you do a live version of that?
I could rather think about that. Yeah. Yeah, I could try that. I could definitely knock those chords out together, and it'd make a cool song, wouldn't it?
Definitely. I'm going to put a link to it in the description of the video and the podcast so people can find the track on YouTube, because they need to hear it. It's brilliant. If we can go to the radio show for a second, so you're there for 15 series. Did you?
No, 17 years. So
17 years. Sorry,
it was about 100 series.
Wow.
At least. Yeah.
Did you write every single episode of that, or did you have guest writers doing that for you?
Oh no, it was Mike Craig was the writer. He had total command over the whole show. Every single line that was used was written by Mike. I mean, he was absolute genius for it. He's no longer with us, but it was really good. I mean, you can't get them anywhere either.
There's a few on YouTube. I think there's one series on YouTube. I was listening to it yesterday.
But that's the TV show, I think. I don't think that's radio, is it?
I'm not sure. I think they're both on there because I found the TV show as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I found.
Right.
Both
Well,
on YouTube.
that ran for 43 weeks, like I said on Granada TV. That was Johnny Hamp, who his first massive hit was the comedian. With Frank Carson and Norman Collier and Bernard Mann, George Roker, and all the Stan Boardman, all those sort of comics.
Yeah.
And that ran for years. And obviously, a lot of them guests were on our show. So just like for a punchline, you'd have Hurricane, a snooker player. And it'd be just a punchline of a guy. That's it. That's all he'd do. So, but, it was different. And it established us, in a big way. Because Summer Kills and Blackpool was like, it was like, the Vegas of England as far as we were concerned. So from 1972 was the South Pier, 1973 was the South Pier, 1979 was the North Pier, 1980 was the North Pier, 81 North Pier. Then we went down to Torquay and to Bournemouth, and to Yarmouth, and then back up to Blackpool in the Grand Theatre in Blackpool and the Winter Gardens every Sunday from the Isle of Man, where we did 77, 78, 79, or 77, 78, 79 at the Palace Lido. And every Sunday we'd fly over to Blackpool and do the Opera House, which holds 3,300 seats, and we'd fill it, And then were the days when a summer show was from May till October, on May till November, 6 nights a week, 6:10 and 8:40. One of them, Brian Conley, was a support comedian. The Nolan, Dick Van Winkle was blowing his flute, and we had sort of 10 dancers and a hell of a band, the gag out here was there was a blind guy selling shoelaces. And I put my 50 pence in his tin every night of the week, 6 nights a week for 4.5 months. And around about October, he stopped me and said, "Is that the guy that put 50 pence in my tin for the 4.5 months and you've never taken the shoelace?" I said, "Yeah, mate." He said, "Well, they've gone up." So that's the kind of style. And the gram was an amazing. Absolutely brilliant. And I talk about stuff like that. When I do a ship, I do an audience with the cruise director. Apart from the children in the theatre, I do an audience with as well, with the question and answer thing from the crowd. And the theatre's usually pretty full, and he asked me, 20 or 30 questions. The roving mic, a bit like what you're doing now. And I throw the captain in, and that's how it works.
That's great. And what I like about the TV show as well is that you had the coloured backgrounds on it. It was really surreal at the same time. It was like a radio show on telly. And
that was the first series. Yeah, it then developed from that and went to more normal, scenes in shops and in bars and things like that. It changed. That's the very first series with the coloured sort of surreal look, which is what John tried to. But he wanted to develop it, so they made it a bigger thing with a set and an audience. But, it worked well, but it just kind of ran its course, if you know what I mean. I think everything does, especially in the way things change in this business, unless you're changing with it. And we were of that style. We were at the head of our game. There wasn't another band in this country that had their own television, It was only us and the Monkeys.
That's true, yeah.
Really.
And it was what was interesting was I thought it was almost like a pre-runner to the Fast Show that came out in the 90s, where it was really quick sketches, and that you sort of came on like punchline and off.
Exactly. Yeah. The thing is with the Fast Show and things that it developed, it became more university ground. In other words, it became programs that were performed by people who had had a university education. You know, whereas we come from working class people, and the people that came up through the working class did working class humour. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's just that it ran its course. The only person that carried on doing it and perfected it, really, was the governor, Ken Dodd. And he went right through and kept going right to the very end, you know, with it. But most of the things just fell by the wayside as Smith and Jones took over as various characters. And like you said, Fast Show, which is a variation on what we were doing, only, you know, wordier and brighter, more edited than with the words. But no, it worked for us.
I think you were definitely the because, like I said, I was researching it and went on and found it. And you were definitely the pre-runners to that style. It was definitely like, as soon as it came on, I was like, I recognise this style. And then was it about 1988 you sort of decided to retire from it or step back a bit?
No, it was later than that. It was getting to the point where we were just kind of spiraling. In other words, we were doing the theatres, we were doing, you know, the sort of summer shows, etc. But I could see that we'd ran the course of as far as I wanted to go. And, you know, what I don't like doing is going back to something that I used to do. Bernard Manning hit the line in his club at the embassy. He said, I get them on the way up and I get them on the way down. And it's true, you know, it gets people just breaking through, and then it get them, they should have retired. And they haven't, you know, and they were still doing the same thing. And I could feel that that's the way it was going. And I've always had this kind of urge to do other things. And so I gave the boys 2 years notice. And, you know, because I didn't want it to be a thing. After 40 years with the guy, I didn't want it to look like or feel like that I'd left, you know, or left them in a situation that was uncomfortable. So I said, look, at the end of that summer show, I'm going to be on my way, boys. I trained a guy called Tony Joe to actually take over exactly what I was doing. And I got in a car, and me and my wife drove up to Halls in Wednesday. We opened a little shop called Simply Original, and we opened the gallery up there. And Tony stepped straight into my shoes, and for quite a while they continued doing the same thing with him, but it didn't quite work out. And, you know, you've got to understand what Robin and Graham are about, because they are pretty genius at what they do. And he didn't quite fit in them. So after a while, he sort of came out, and Robin and Graham continued. And then, unfortunately, we lost Graham about 6 years ago. And Robin now works with another guy, and he got a double act together, and I do what I do. Albert and Carl are still in that retirement age, and so, you know, that's the way it is. That's the way we are now. But I'm still loving what I do, you know.
Apart from the fact you brought out an album recently as well, which is great. One Door Opens.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, I met a guy called Hugh Fowler who works at Teal, which is an agency in Skipton. And I used to do the various ships that they supplied the dance teams for, which in turn danced to the tracks that Hugh Fowler used to record.
Right.
And then he left Peel and went out on his own, and he contacted me and said, if you ever want any tracks, Mo, I'm your man. Because I used to pop in and see him, and I got my tracks done for, because a lot of ships, I don't use the orchestra because they're not equipped for an orchestra. So my act is kind of a play on music, a few gags into a bit of a Lennon tribute with, you know, a track playing Strawberry Fields and my guitar and harmonica, etc. and then the track drops to a level that I can work with, and I crack some gags. And, Liverpool is the city of culture. That means when you come out your hotel, your car's jacked up on book. Up comes the track, and then on with the song. And that's how we developed a bit of a friendship, in fact, a big friendship. And I played him this song, which is I'm in Martinique. Martinique was the name of the song. And he said, I love it, let's record it. And that developed into an album. And we're on with the second album as we speak.
Oh, fantastic. I mean, your album it's amazingly eclectic, and it's got yet again, I'm going to put a link in the description so people can find it. But it's got a sort of an unassuming opening as well, where you sort of talk for a second and then you start playing. And I love that sort of relaxed style that it is. I love Dusty Was Her Name as well. That's a fantastic track as well. Was that about Dusty Springfield or?
Absolutely, yeah. It's a kind of a picture. It's a storytelling, and if you listen to it and imagine you're driving your car when you're listening to it, the whole lyric is about that. And yes, she was amazing. I worked with a TV show called Life from Her Majesty, which was hosted by Jimmy Tarbuck. She was on that show, and I watched her do a rehearsal with the orchestra, and it wasn't long after that she died. But she was an amazing singer, incredible. I don't think there's been many girl singers that had that soulful, effortless tone which she had. Fantastic.
Yeah, people always said to me, if you could do your dream sort of duet, who would you pick? And it would be Dusty and Karen Carpenter. I think those two together.
Oh, yeah, fantastic.
I mean, I don't know what song they would do, but just those two voices blended together somehow, I think would have been probably one of the greatest singles ever released, even if they did 145 single or something.
Yeah, I think you're right, man. That's two perfect tones. It's just the clarity of Karen and the huskiness of Dusty. It would be quite amazing.
Yeah. I don't know what they'd sing, but
no. It could. Well, they could sing any thing, couldn't they? Whereas I have to pick my songs. I've got a limited range, which I appreciate. But I've stopped trying to find things now. I found what I'm comfortable with, and the simpler. It's a bit like watercolor. Less is more. And if you've got restricted ability, when you actually master that restriction, it actually goes in your favor. So you get that simple, a simple watercolor sometimes is actually better than a massively complicated. Same as a simple, Johnny Cash was simple, the simplest tone and guitar effort you'll ever hear. But the songs were definitely originally brilliant, weren't they?
Yeah, definitely. And it's like your album's it's got a lot of bluesy based songs in it, and it really works to your credit. That's fantastic.
Thank you, mate. Thanks very much. As soon as the next one's done, you'll be getting a copy, mate.
Thank you, mate. So if people want to find out about what you're up to, where's the best place to look at what you're doing? I take it, would it be Facebook if people want to find out where to find out what you're up to and stuff?
Yeah. There's a Facebook sort of tag. I have a guy that does my sound, Stuart Jowett, and he sticks a Facebook link. Maurice Lee at Blues Bar tonight. Come along, it'll be cool. So that's there. And if you go on to the Blues Bar Harrogate, you'll see the link every Wednesday to the picture of Maurice Lee sings the blues. It's on, and you'll see all the other acts that are on. So it's the Blues Bar Montpellier Harrogate. You just put that into Google and it'll find it, and you'll see my most there.
Fantastic. And I'll put the links to the album on the bottom. Mo, it's been amazing chatting today. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, mate.
Smarter than you got picked you off the street. You wanted to play. You found your feet. Now be on your way. You got nothing. You got nothing that I need. You've lost your way. You've lost your say.